Well, good morning. Yuree says I talk too much, so today I'm going to try to use a little stopwatch so that we give her time to be able to share her testimony, which is extremely powerful. You can go ahead to the next slide. There's our family. My name's Eric and Yuree, and our daughter Harper's back there. That one's okay. This is where I'm going to start first, and then Yuree will go after me. Yeah, I could do it. Yeah.
That we know what who's right there.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. We tried this one other church and it didn't work. So hopefully it works, right? Well, I want to share just a little bit about myself and how I ended up to this place. And I'm going to talk about where we're heading. As we are still pre-assignment, we have not been sent out yet. My name is Eric. I grew up in Wisconsin, just north of here a little bit in Green Bay, the First Baptist Church, the American Baptist Church there. After I finished college, I lived in different places around the US. And in 2014, I found myself answering a call to go back to school to study ministry. I made my way down to a college in Oklahoma, which you may have heard of, Bacone College. It was founded through American Baptist. For Native American education. So I prepared myself for studying to be a youth pastor or going to camping ministry, and the context being Native American, something that they didn't teach very much of up in Wisconsin when I was growing up. So I thought this will be great. I'll be able to learn a lot more about the culture of the Native Americans. But when I got to campus, I lived in the dorm, even though I was in my 30s. And this dorm was not full of Native Americans. It was actually had around 30 refugees from a country I'd never heard of. Did you know there's a country between India and Thailand? It's called Myanmar, or Burma, as it was at the end of World War II. These refugees, which Yuree will talk more about their struggle, but they've made their way to the United States, and there were 30 of them studying at Bacone when I got there. My scholarship that I went in on was a learning work community scholarship. So we learned together, studied together, we worked together. We took trips with our praise team. This is a picture up there of our praise team, our travel team. We'd go to churches in Kansas and in Oklahoma. This was a church out in Western Oklahoma, Redstone. It was in spending time in the community with them, living together and eating together, that I got to hear their stories. There's 3-4 different ethnic groups that are represented in these students, these refugees, but specifically the Karen students, their stories were different. They impacted my heart as I kept hearing of those struggles of running and being shot at. I started to hear God saying, help the Karen people. I remember I thought I was going to go into like camping ministry or youth ministry, but God was starting to change my heart in hearing the struggles that they have. Help the Karen people. Well, I didn't know what that meant, but I did know one thing is that I couldn't do that alone. So at about November, I prayed to God. I said, okay, I surrender. I will help the Karen people. I don't know what it means, but send me a helpmate, someone that'll be a bridge between the Karen people and myself, so that our ministry together can be much more effective. And lo and behold, the next semester in January, a single Karen lady came to Bacone College to study also. I think she's smiling. So things led to, one thing led to another, and I finished school. I graduated quicker because I already had a bachelor's degree, but we decided to get married, and we bought a house in Muskogee. We started talking about what ministry would look like for us in the future. And one of those things was we talked about serving overseas and the possibility of helping Karen refugees still living in refugee camps. So we went to Green Lake, Wisconsin for Hear the Call in 2018. But Yuree said, if we're going to do this, we're going to wait until after I finish college. So Yuree's final capstone project was to bring aid to a refugee camp, a specific refugee camp in the Karen state in Myanmar called Etuta. So this is a picture of the refugee camp, a couple pictures of when she was there. She raised money throughout the January term. And when we got there, she was able to provide the resources for them to buy 115 sacks of rice, which allowed for 2 months of food for the 3,000 residents that are refugees that are at the Etuta camp. But she met with leaders and she brought pillowcase dresses and a real good first step into foreign missions together. So Yuree finished school and we applied. So she finished in 2019, took about a year. In August of 2020, we were officially endorsed by the American Baptist International Ministries. In that, we had to have a identified partner invite, and that came from our ministry partner now in Thailand, along the border. Shortly after our endorsement, we heard that there was bombing that was happening very close to the Etuta camp. These are pictures from that day that all 3,000 people from there crossed the river. The river is the border between the Karen state and Thailand. So they all crossed over, but of course, what was going on during that time? COVID, right? Thailand put up a razor wire and said, why are you here? There's a pandemic, you need to go back. And they did. February 2021, there was a military coup that occurred after they had free elections. They elected the lady in the lower right corner, Aung San Suu Kyi. The military dictator claimed voter fraud and arrested her when she continues to be in prison today. We were really hopeful for democracy to return, but it did not. The Burmese military, this is typical of what they will do. They'll burn down homes. They'll bomb places. The picture in the lower right is either a school or a church. This one's more recent. On April 11th, this church was destroyed. Refugees, when they flee, even the Etuta people, the refugees there, they go and they hide in caves and they lack resources for food, obviously shelter, medical supplies, and they live in constant fear. But there is one plus side. The Karen people are a resilient people, and they know that education is important. This is two pictures. The bottom picture especially shows class, kids studying on the jungle floor because they don't have a school, but they still have a desire to learn. Something good happened in 2021. Harper joined our family. In November of 2021, we met our fundraising threshold of 25%, and we were able to go full-time. Full-time, I was able to leave my job. So what did we do? We sold our house in Muskogee, and I packed up the family with our newborn, 2 months old, I think. And we moved up to Wisconsin and quickly realized that traveling to churches with an infant was not easy. So we bought a new home on wheels, our motor home and our car. And we started to travel. Last year, these are the states we traveled through. Had about 45 churches and gatherings that we went to, and a lot of miles. But it was great. We got to meet the greater American Baptist family and advocate for the Karen people and their struggles. Now, typically, when you're endorsed through international ministries, you would have a vision trip. You'd actually go over to your country of service, meet with your ministry partner, see where you're going to live and where you're going to be serving. But because of COVID, we weren't able to do that. In December, we flew over there, our first time back since that 2019 trip to Etuta. Spent some time with Yuree's family, and then made our way to the border, the Mae Sot area. This is not a very good map, but you can see where Bangkok is, and Mae Sot is the area where we are going to be serving. It's about 8 hours of driving between the two. You have to go through mountains and curvy roads and things to get there. The picture in the upper right shows when we were there, our area coordinator for Southeast Asia and Japan joined us. Leslie Turley is her name. And we went to these 4 educational places that we are going to be serving at. And I'll go through these. The first one that we got to visit on Saturday was the Cthulhu Hope Theological Seminary. This building itself was finished not too long ago through a project campaign through the American Baptist, and it is being used, and students are studying there residentially, but also online all over the world. And so this is a place where I can help them with their technology and their admin type things. A little bit I specifically will be pulled into this location, both 2 seminaries. Right next to the Hope Theological Seminary is the Thumaki Learning Center. This is a place where I see spending maybe half my time. Their need is great for teachers. That's not a typo. There are 1,000 migrant kids from Myanmar living residentially in this location, from kindergarten through 12th grade, plus they have some like sort of associate programs. And one of those programs is an engineering program. My background in technology will lend very well to helping the teacher that's in the upper picture there. Very exciting to be able to serve and work at this place. Again, the need is great for teachers. 40 teachers. Any educators, former educators? No? Usually we get at least one and they're going 1,000 kids. That's a lot. On Sunday, during our trip, we went to a Korean church for worship and then made our way to the Hilllight Theological Seminary, which is right next to the church. It's very close to the other seminary, maybe about 20 minutes. It says they have about 40 students that are studying there. It's been there a little bit longer, more established. And again, this is a place where I can help them, with maybe their website development or their admin type things. This last place is a place that we've talked about the most because this was our initial invite to come to Thailand and work. This is the Cthulhu Korean Baptist Bible School and College. It's located in the largest refugee camp along the border in Thailand. There's 9 of them. Mae La is the largest. There's somewhere between 30 and 50,000 refugees living in Mae La alone. It's a lot. But on the north end of the refugee camp is this school. The school is a Bible school, and it's a bachelor level accredited school. With last semester, they had 450 students, all studying ministry. Where in America do we have 450 students studying in one spot? All studying ministry. It's pretty neat. They offer two different tracks. One is in English. If they get into the English level, it's a bachelor program in theology. If they don't pass the English requirement, they go into the Korean language track, which is a certificate in theology. 450 students, 70 faculty and staff. Again, they need teachers also. It was really interesting when we visited there. Our partner, our contact is more at the seminary, the first seminary I talked about. And so we almost had to reintroduce ourselves. And Yuree spent time talking to one of the teachers that's in leadership. And once they figured out that they didn't have to pay us to be teachers, they warmly welcomed us. Come spend 100% of your time with us. We need both of you. We need teachers, especially Yuree with her background in her education. And she'll talk a little bit about that. They're just very excited to have us. So again, for me, I can see the second half of my time spending here teaching classes, and Yuree is called to spend most of her time at this place. The students themselves are refugees that have fled from Myanmar and are all studying there. And they're preparing to go back into the refugee camps or along the border or back into the Korean state. It's a really, really neat program that they have there. The building itself and the studies, it wasn't always in this location. It originally was formed in the Karen state as pastors got together and had determined that there was a lack of pastors with the people fleeing out of Myanmar. They need a pastor to be able to have communion and baptisms and weddings and funerals, and they didn't have enough. So they said, we need to train. So they built in a location in the Karen state. The Burmese military caught up to it. The students had fled already. They burnt down the building. Well, they built in a different location that they thought was safe. And after a while, the Burmese military did the same thing. But when they got the invite from the Thai authority to build in the Mela refugee camp, they were able to build this permanent location there. So we feel really grateful to be able to go and serve here very soon. And that's enough for me. How about you, Yuree?
Thank you. I just want to say that I get a little bit nervous, when I have to share, but after sharing for over 45 churches, and I think I'm getting better now, not get too anxious too much. If I start speaking in different languages, it not mean that I'm speaking in tongue. It just I get too nervous, and I start, because I speak 4 different languages already. Then I start thinking, I sometimes have to pause and rethink about what I just said, and then I go back to English. So just bear with me a little bit, please. I want to share about my calling first. I went to Bacon College in Oklahoma in 2015, hoping to get my business degree. I enrolled in business major. When I get to Bacon College in 2015, during my first semester, I found myself spending a lot of time involved in ministry on campus, worshiping with other students in Christian ministry program. And we spent a lot of time, practice singing and join the praise team, and we sing together. And then we get to spend a lot of time, that is worship God together, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday. So it's kind of like a lot of things happen. And then back in 2015, when I went there, I'm not really expecting that I would get involved in ministry on campus that much. But when I got there and I realized that, wow, it's actually, it's nice that I get to spend time with other students and, involved in ministry on campus. And that during the first semester, I feel like God is speaking to me, in my heart, and it's calling me to come and serve him and, and serve others. And back then, I don't really understand, something is changing in my heart slowly, and spiritually also growing, when you are worship together, you grow together in spiritually. So that's how our Christian, that's how we grow, to spend time in other Christians and worship God together, and we learn together. So I'm not really sure why it's, my heart has changed slowly. I feel like God is, it's calling me to serve him. And I don't understand, because I didn't plan to, go into Christian ministry study program. I just want to get there and then get my business degree and study hard and get out and work with some company or whatever, that I can apply. But during that, after the end of the semester, I just want to know more about Christian ministry program, because I feel like God is, speaking to me in my heart. And then I asked Eric, I said, that time we were friends, so I asked him what is Christian ministry program is. And then he said, well, Christian ministry program is you study the word, you study the Bible, all these, classes like Old Testament, New Testament, and how to preach, how to teach, and all these classes. I'm like, wow, that's a lot. And I said, so that you can, after you graduate and you learn all this, and you can go out and, serve the Lord effectively. So among the people, the ministry that is God is leading you to and calling you to. I said, wow, that's then I went back to my dorm and think about that a little bit. And then I know that it is, I just can't wait to change my major. I a little bit think, but finally, I make my decision. I make my decision at the end of semester and enroll again for the next semester. And I change my major from business degree to Christian ministry, emphasis in Christian counseling. After, and then graduated in 2019. I want to share about my testimony, who I am and where my originally from. I was born in Karen State and was Karen State, Myanmar. And when I was 4 years old, my family fled the village because of the military. Burmese military came into our villages and burned down our houses and start killing people. So the Karen ethnic group is one of the most ethnic group that is persecuted by the Burmese military because of our ethnic and our cultures and our history, what happened in after World War II. So it's almost like they want to kill us all, like an ethnic cleansing. So, but when I was 4 years old, the news came that we have to leave our village, our home. We have to heading toward Thailand, Myanmar and Thailand border, because that was the safer place for us to go. So, everybody, even other villages around us, all these Korean refugees just, take whatever they can with them. And then we fled our villages and we just heading toward Myanmar and toward Thailand. And back then we have to walk from our villages and then through the jungle. There is no transportation or no road, no cars back then, even until today's. And it's very remote and out in the rural Karen State, and still that way until today. We have to walk through the jungle several days. I remember there is a few events that happened while we walk through the jungle. That is, we can hear the commotion behind us, that our village is just on fire, and the bomb and the guns sound. We heard that, and it's so frightening for me. For us, I was very young, but I remember some events. So then the news came that is, while we're running, we don't have food, we don't have any medicine. If anybody got sick, they're just waiting to die, and a lot of children die because of the disease in the jungle, malaria and other starvation. People don't have food to eat. So the news came again when we arrived at the border after several days, that when we arrived in the border, and then the news came that we have to, heading toward Thailand and cross the water, the river. That's what the river that you saw on the picture earlier. That's what the river that we are crossing. We just crossed the river. So because we received the news that we cannot return home, it was too dangerous, because the Burmese military is already burned your houses down and occupying the land and bury landmine around the villages. So we are not able to return. So we have to heading toward Thailand. So we crossed the border, and then we just like spread out and along the border by the river bank. We know that we cannot return home. That's why the many refugee camp was set up along Myanmar and Thailand border. And then my family and because we are moving constantly during that time. That is, we have to stay in a temporary camp, just keep moving. And then finally, that is, the Thai government said we can allow these refugees just to stay here by the river bank, but they cannot go further inside of Thailand. So my family ended up in one of the refugee camp, and then the last refugee camp that we live in Melaun refugee camp, and we lived there. I grew up in refugee camp and live in refugee camp total of 17 years before my family resettled to America here in 2012. Coming to America here, it's not like you can come however whenever you want to. There's we had opportunity in 2006, that is all these many countries around the world, especially Canada, America, Australia, that open up the country and welcome refugees, that provide and the organization are called UNHCR. This organization is helping with the world refugees. So, and each country governments welcoming refugees provide the path for us to apply and resettle to America. To their country. So in 2006, many Korean refugees that live in refugee camps apply and follow through the process to come to America or Canada or Australia, but some of them still remain not apply because they're still hoping that someday they can return home, just like my father, that he's hoping to return home, because that's what back in Korean state is his home, where he was born, he grew up. We're hoping too, but I know that is after 17 years I live in refugee camp, I know that is we don't have a home to return, to go back. So my dad still not wanted to apply to resettle to other country, but I wanted to. I was young and I want to get out of refugee camp. I say to my dad, that is, I just don't want to live here anymore, Dad. Let's go somewhere, because in refugee camp we don't have freedom, we don't have enough food to eat each day, education very limited, and we can't even get out of refugee camp. Like, you live in this town and you're not allowed to go outside, you have to live here. How can you gonna go to school and work and provide for your family? And as a child, I want more than that. I want to go to school, and I always want to go somewhere. But in 2006, that we know that we can apply and resettle to other countries. I just encourage my dad, begging for my dad to apply to go to America. I don't know why, because other country I don't think about too much, but I always think about America, because when I was young, I watched these movies that is, talking about America. Children go to school, ride on a yellow bus, and eat ice cream and pizza and a lot of food, and they can go anywhere, and it's so beautiful, America. I see, plane and cars, or I just want to have that freedom. I just want to go to school and eat and study and have a different kind of life. Different from refugee camp. So I asked my dad to apply, and then finally after 1 year, he said, okay, I'm going to. He think about, he think a lot for him to apply. He think a lot before he make decision. This is a big decision for us and for my father. He want a better future for his children, so that his children can get out of here and go to school. So, and finally in 2007, my dad, our family applied, and then applied to go to America. So, but the process is just not that easy either, because we have to, go through interview and all this, and many things, a medical check, and everybody have to pass medical check. If you don't, your whole family not going, only if you are over 18 and you can go alone. At that time I was young, I'm not 18, so I'm just hoping that the process will go fast, and I pray that God will, make the way for us and just make the process going well and smooth for us. But after applying to 2007, we waiting a total of 5 years to be able to come to America. And then, during that 5 years, I think that God has abandoned us. God has not loved us. And then in 2012, we received the letter, came into our house, and my father opened up the letter and said that we have a date, or we have to pack up and go to America. So we just don't have much to pack up at that time. I feel like God has answered my prayer. God keep his promise. We just have to be patient. God teach me patience personally. I think about myself now today, that is, God has not abandoned me, not abandoned my family. God keeping his promise. God teaching us something about patience, teaching about faith. That is, the scripture said clearly, when you seek, you shall find. When you ask, God will answer. When you knock, the door will open. I remember that scripture until today. That is, I truly believe in that. That's the words of God. That is, God's keep his promise. Whatever he say, he will do it for you. We just have to trust and obey God and be patient, because sometimes God's working in our life. We might not see it, but he's working. And that's why after 5 years, God just opened up the way for us. And then we just came to America in 2012. And we arrived in our last destination is Huron, South Dakota. We arrived in a beautiful days in winter time in February in South Dakota. When we arrived, I remember I stepped out of the airport, that little airplane, and I can see this big pile of something. I don't even know what is that. It's on the ground everywhere. And then I realized, I watched those Hollywood movies and said, those are mukopa, which is sky flowers. We call snow in Korean sky flowers. So those are sky flowers, and all my siblings are just like, we are exhausted and tired. We arrived at 10 p.m. at night, and we just get very excited and happy to arrive in America finally after waiting for 5 years. And then, yes, in the morning, I just can't wait until the light, the daylight, and in the morning, so I can go out and look what is outside, what's really outside, and in the morning, sure, I just get the first one I got out of the bed, and I look out, wow, it's beautiful, but it's very cold. What is this? There's almost like a completely different world for us. And when I arrived here, and of course my family, nobody in my family able to speak English. I didn't speak English like this, and when I first came in 2012, so I didn't have high school diploma and nothing. So I still want to go to school. My dream to go to school and get my college degree in America, it's still not, I still hoping to go. I'm still want to get my college degree. So after studying in South Dakota 2 years, I received my high school diploma, and then I went to Bacon College to get my college degree. But God is leading me into a ministry today. God is calling me because if you ask me why you want to go back to Thailand and work with the refugees, and I can, when we talk about what God is calling us, as a family to serve him where and what, and we don't really understand what God is really calling us and leading us to. And if you ask me, then we talk about maybe going, Eric talk and say that I like to help Korean people, because I feel like God is, there's so much need along Myanmar and Thailand border, and then God is calling us to go and serve Korean people in Thailand. And I look at him, Thailand refugee camp. So, well, I don't think I want to go back to Thailand refugee camp, because that was the place that I always want to, the place that I don't want to be in. I don't want to go back, and I don't want to have anything to do with that. Maybe go back and visit, but not go back and live and work there, because it reminds me of the struggling and the pain and the memories. I don't want to go back, so that's it. But after 2 years, it took me 2 years to discern about my calling, what God is really called us. I want to help people. I want to help the Korean people. I think that maybe we can go back to Korean community and work with them and help them throughout, because when they came here, they struggle as well. Think about if you go to some country that you don't know the language, you don't know the culture, you don't know how the system work, and you must be really confused, just like my family when we first came here. And then I'm thinking maybe we can go back to Korean community and help them, work with the paperwork or whatever they need, even like translating. So when I first came, we always need translator because none of us speak English. So it's quite a struggle, but we made it and we are okay now. So that's what I think, that maybe that's a ministry that we can do. We can go back to Minnesota or or South Dakota. But when I think about again, and that's the need is so great along, because in 2019 I went back and visit and bring aid to Ituta refugee camp. I can see how much is the need along Myanmar and Thailand border, and and this refugees, young children that are fleeing their home now, they can't go to school properly. They are not educated properly. They have to study in a in the forest, in the dirt ground. There's no school for them, and some of them remain in refugee camp. They can't go. They can not all of them can go to college education level, because of their parents cannot afford to send their children to go to school. So even though they go to school, but what they are going to do with their education, because they're not allowed to go anywhere, do anything else. So a lot of children are just give up on their education. Like my sibling, my older sister, she only finished 7th grade. And she failed twice, and she's like, I'm give up. Why I have to study for no, what I'm gonna do with it's. I don't even have, anything that I can do. Even I study, So she just give up. And then my youngest sister, only 8th grade, my brother, he graduated from this high school, the same school like I did in South Dakota, and he became electrician, and now until today. And there was I can see that education is so important, that if you be educated, at least you can read and write, you're able can think for yourself, you can make decision and better decision. I can see you can have critical thinking, and be creative. If you learn a lot, study a lot, the more you learn, the more you can think for yourself, and you can make a better life and make a difference in other life as well. So education is so important for me. That's why when I look at Myanmar and Thailand border and said, wow, these children's lack of education and opportunity. So I think that this is it. And I realize that it's why God is calling me to go back. And I make decision, then I'm going back to Thailand, to go back to refugee camp and teach in the schools. If you think about if you think about all my life, since I was born and live in my home a little bit, and after 4 years and fled my village and survived the killing by the Burmese military and survive in the jungle, because there are so many people that not make it out alive. And I make it out alive, and I survived living in refugee camp for 17 years. And I survived, came here, of course. And in all these years, God is, leading me to and protect me, and then prepare me for his work. And I realized that God can, call the really broken people, the people that is, I think that I cannot do this because I don't have strength. I can't do this, but I know that is, God, sometimes God put us in a life, in the situation that is for us to face, so that we can, God give us strength. When I think about why I can't go back and do this, but God said you can, and then God gave it courage and strength. And we just have to accept the calling, and then be obedient to God, and just go and what God is calling you to, and go and do what God is calling you to do. And then if I think about it, I realize that God is preparing me all along these years, all my life, just to serve him. God is already at work along Myanmar and Thailand border. He's working all these schools and training the students who become pastor and minister, and spread out along Myanmar and Thailand border. God is already at work. He just wants more workers, more workers to go and work alongside with them, and then teach the students and train them and educate them, and have in education side of it. So I'm can say that we are ready, and we are very close to go to Thailand now. We just need a little bit of support and a little bit of time, that is so that we can just get the tickets and then go. And to go back to, in this time, going back is not like I'm a refugee anymore. I'm just a former refugee. And and going back is just, I can do a lot more than in the past, of course, because I was had my college education, I can go back and share my skill and knowledge to these refugee children and work along Myanmar and Thailand border with Christian leaders. To go back and share the gospel to the people. If you think about Thailand and Myanmar is very dominated by Buddhism, so 90% of their population, over 90% are Buddhists. So God needs, more workers to go and tell about the gospel, tell about the love and hope of Jesus Christ to people that along Myanmar and Thailand border. Also the Thai people, a lot of friends of mine are still Buddhists, worshiping Buddha. But so this is why this is why we do what we do here, because it's God calling us. And I just want to go back and tell about my testimony and my, the love of Christ to these refugees are fleeing, homeless, no home, live in fear, and, have no hope. There is hope in Christ. I can go back and tell them that God has not abandoned them. God's loved them dearly. Yes, thank you so much.
Here's a couple of pictures of May Law and what it looks like. This is kind of an open field where kids look like they're playing soccer, football over there. Remember, there's 30 to 50,000 people living in May Law. Houses are basically on top of each other. They build wherever they can. May Law is about a 3-mile stretch between a highway and a mountain. You can see they've built sort of on the mountainside. It is very, very condensed. But this is the area where the Bible school is at. All right, so our next step in our journey to heading to Thailand is our commissioning service. On May 21st, coming up real quick here, we are having our commissioning service because we've reached above 80% of our ongoing support. It's going to be held in Kansas City, First Baptist Church of Turner. We encourage folks to come or join on Facebook, and we can leave information for where to watch that. Lembke Ministries, our Facebook page, so we'll go live on there. Maybe you can have a watch party at the church or something. But we're excited about that because that's coming up real quick. This percentage, this 100%, fluctuates quite a bit. Last week it was 99%, and then 100%, and then 99%. Ongoing support is pledges, and sometimes pledges will continue on for a long time, and sometimes they drop off. So we're always looking for people to join us in this ministry. Remember, I said I couldn't do it alone, right? Yuree and I can't do it alone. That's obvious too. But at the 100%, which we are very close, we're looking at the board of directors of international ministries voting for our assignment in the first week of June, with maybe a departure date before July 1st. That's our hope. We are signing on for a 5-year term, 4 years over there, and 1 year we'll come back that last year and tell about the story, tell about how God has been at work along the border. This is kind of an amazing thing. American Baptist sending one of their own, the Karen people, back to serve the Karen people. As a white Caucasian person, as a missionary, I know that I'm not as effective in reaching a people group. It takes a person from that people group to reach that people group. That's how Adoniram Judson started it. He reached one person, one Karen person, and the Karen have come to know, a lot of Karen have come to know Christ through the work of Adoniram Judson. So we're getting very close to going. We're going to ask you as a congregation to do 2 major things with us. The first thing we ask you to do is to pray. Guys like to pray. I heard that in the beginning of the service. So we ask you to pray for 3 different things. The first one being pray for our family of 3 with Harper. And we travel a lot. You saw the map up there. We travel a lot. We are getting ready to fly halfway around the world again and travel. So pray for us as we go around, that we stay healthy and we stay, ready to serve at any time. The second one that we ask you to pray for is all of those students that we're going to be walking alongside, and the faculty, that they're preparing to serve the Lord like we are, but in places that can be much more depressing, unsafe. If they go back to the current state, it's very, very unsafe, but the gospel needs to reach there. We get to walk alongside them and encourage them and help them in their studies and prepare to go out and serve the Lord. The third one that we ask you to pray for is the political situation in Myanmar. We mentioned the coup that happened. We were really excited that democracy looked like it was going to return, but it hasn't. It has remained under military control. So we pray that God works in the heart of those leaders, that real change can happen. You heard Yuree talk about her dad's desire just to go back home. As a refugee, that's what they want. They want to live where they grew up in peace. So we pray for that political situation in Myanmar. The second way we ask you to join us is in a financial way. It takes a whole group of people to send missionaries today. And we have gone around and shared the message and advocated for the Karen people. We started using this message of join at $1 a day. When I was younger, I remember seeing the TV ads for just $1 a day. You can feed the starving children in Africa. Remember that one? Yeah. Well, this is another way. Any amount is great. It goes a long way in helping bring the gospel to the border, in helping us maintain and stay there. So consider $1 a day. How you might do that, there's a couple ways. The easiest is to call. You can call the donor services during regular business hours, their East Coast time. And just say you met the Lembkes and you'd like to support them. If you're techie, you can scan the QR code, or we have prayer cards out on the table out there with all the information on the back side of the card. We encourage you to come and speak to us afterwards. Maybe you have some questions that has been brewing. Maybe God's stirring in your heart on what's going on all the way over there along the border. We are very excited in this time and very encouraged that God is getting ready to send us. It's been a long wait. That patience that God has been teaching us all along is we're finally there. We thank you so much for giving us the time to share and talk. And we talked a little bit longer than normal. You're a regular pastor, maybe 10 minutes more. But we thank you for listening to the story of the Karen people.
Thank you very much for having us here today and give us opportunity to share about our ministry and calling and about the Karen people. Thank you so much, everyone.